Hi and welcome to this week's video. Not a lot of action in this particular video, as our American brethren across the way would say. It's going to be a bit more of a show and tell, because really all I was doing was cutting, sanding and making the joints as well as I wanted them to be, and to my methodology. So I'll show you some of the joints that I use and explain to you why I use them, and you can see the overall effect of the build so far. So let's get cracking. Well, in last week's video I said that the wood that I had for doing the firewall mounts and those sort of areas that were supplied didn't have the grain the way I wanted it to have. I wanted it to be growth rings vertical as we see it. So as I'll show you here, I wanted them like that. And this is a piece of Douglas fir. Not my favourite wood, but it's stronger than Sitka spruce and heavier, unfortunately. But you know, in that area it's great, and I've got the correct number of growth rings there going around. So cut from a larger piece. Did have a bit of a shake in this piece. There's a piece to throw away. Trying to keep it so it didn't have any run out. So you can sort of see the run out on the grain here. If we follow that one through, it goes all the way to there. So you know, hardly any run out at all, and the grain is pretty much at 90 degrees. So we're doing really well. The stock that I've got is enough to make up both the verticals and horizontals for the firewall, and for one of the strut mounts up at the top here. Nice snug fit. Let's have a look at the rest of things. Let me move you around. So as we look up the fuselage side, this is all dry fitted. It's not been glued at all. I have been cutting out all the diagonals and verticals and various other bits for the whole length of the fuselage ×2. So there's a pile of pieces over there which are all the ones for the other side. So we've got two lots nicely sort of set up, and that includes the lower longeron just there has been duplicated as well. I've been doing a lot, but it would have been boring to see me just sanding and shaping and everything else. So let's have a little bit of a closer look at some of the joints which we've got going on. Okay, according to the plans, the block here should be the same material as here, but as you see, I've got the vertical grain so that when the bolt goes through, it's actually sort of squeezing the sections together rather than trying to separate the grain. You don't really want bolts going through this direction. You don't want the bolts going through this direction here, because that's not good structural method. So here, if we used vertical grain, the bolts which are going through to hold the struts on would try to separate it. So the grain which I've used for the blocks there is from another piece of wood which I've got very tight grained this with the growth rings going across. It's got a little bit of angle to it, but the number of growth rings and that actual angle isn't far enough off. It'll do just great. You'll notice though that I've done a different joint here. It's not the square joint which is shown on the plan. I've drilled a hole and then cut through, and then used a round end here, because having a square cut off can induce cracks in blocks. Even if the grain's in the right direction, it could induce a crack in here. And this is a high stress area because we've got the cabane struts going through here. Well, two of the mounting points go onto there, so I want to make sure we've got good strength. Here's how the joints are drawn on the plan. with a gusset going, half round gusset. I will be using something slightly different when I do mine. But yeah, that joint there, it's not how I was taught to do it. Okay, let me just show you a bit of detail I want to do with the diagonals. I was taught by a chap that works on vintage aircraft for a long period of time that these joints, as you'll notice, that corner isn't in line with the centre of the piece of wood. It's about a third the way across. It should be between a quarter and a third the way across, is how I was taught. And the reasoning behind that, if I show you this piece here that's you know, hasn't been dealt with at all, if you have it like just a plain piece without the corner cut out of it to match up with the vertical, you're just relying on the glue joint there to stop slippage. Now you could put a triangular block in here, but that block is in tension, not in compression. Remember, our glues work best in shear or compression. And if it was more biased against the vertical, then again, although that joint's good, it's putting a lot of load on a relatively narrow face there, which could again break it out. So it would still need to have a triangulated block out here, which I've yet to make up. But they worked out effectively that you could just have a triangular block in this corner. Set it up like this. You've got when the diagonal is under compression, you've got the length of this joint here, and because it's pushing against this vertical, you've also got the length of that joint there, all in shear, which is good. The triangle block here would just be in tension, not doing any good. The block, if it was in that corner there, would take up compression and put it into the vertical, which is okay, provided the block on the other side is up higher or equal to that one. So we can do that. So that's how I've set it up. It's how I was taught. A quarter to a third the way across gives us our best option. The half and half, we're losing out some of this long length here, which takes that compressive shear load, which is what we want to make the joint good. And I think the reason why they did it in that format was the glues probably weren't as good as the modern glues, as they made the joints stronger. And well, why not, even with the modern glues, make the joints stronger? Well, I've waffled on to you about glue joints and showing the two slight variations that you might see compared to the way other people do it and the way it's drawn on the plans. That yeah, it's how I was taught. Not necessarily, I can't verify that it's the correct way. I can't say it's what you should do. So it's your choice, but that's how it was explained and taught to me. Hopefully next week we'll start getting some of the blocks made up, or hopefully all of the blocks made up, and start getting some of this lot glued together. Let's hope. So look after yourselves, keep well, and catch you next time. Bye now. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the thumbs up. You can subscribe or even hit the little bell notification for future videos. Any comments would be appreciated, and I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. Remember, go fly and feel the sky.